So after understanding what we are going to study in this chapter in the second last session, and after understanding protein synthesis in the last session, today we will try to understand what evolution is, and we will look at two aspects of evolution. What is evolution? That is the concept of evolution, and what proof do we have of evolution? If you don't know what is evolution right now, that's okay. By the end of this session, all of us would know what evolution is. If you remember, this is how I had summarized the objectives of the chapter. How genes work, how do we have so many different types of organisms on Earth, and third, how humans came into existence. We have covered one objective, that is how genes work. We covered it under protein synthesis. And we also just started looking at how genes are all also related to heredity. We haven't completed that. Remember, we will complete that in chapter number 2 and 3, not even in chapter 2, chapter number 2 and 3. Chapter number 2, we will get most of the details. In chapter number 3, we will get to the specifics. Today's session, we will focus on the second point. How do we have so many different types of organisms on Earth? And we will not arrive at the final answer. We will start exploring the question. But before we start doing that, let us quickly remember what are the steps of the protein synthesis process. You can speak one by one. What is the first step? Or you can type. Speaking will be faster. I think so. What is the first step? You are telling me. I'm waiting for you. Okay. Karthik is saying transcription. Prachi is saying transcription. Chand is saying passing of information from DNA. Incomplete answer, but yeah, on the right track. Chand is saying transcription. Okay. Always remember, it does not always help to use the shortcut. Sometimes we should use the simpler things. Yes, we can say the first step is making of mRNA from DNA. Remember, the mRNA did not exist. It was manufactured. And it was done with the help of an enzyme called RNA polymerase. So don't hesitate to use simple words. What is the point of using transcription if you don't understand what transcription means? Making of mRNA from DNA. This is the first step, which is also called as transcription. What is the second step? Yes, second step is mRNA moves out of the nucleus and goes to ribosomes. mRNA moves out of the nucleus and goes to ribosomes. Perfect answer, Prachi. What's the third step? Now I will not accept this answer, translate. Thank you, Prachi. Better answer. Because when you send the translation, I don't know whether you understood what translation is or not. So the third step we can say is tRNA reads mRNA and brings the right amino acids. Chand, tRNA brings the amino acid to the ribosomes. It does not bring the ribosome, it brings the amino acids to the ribosomes, and this process is called translation. Okay. What's the fourth step? Okay, Prachi, try to write that step in simple words, or say it in simple words. Chanda, rRNA what? rRNA is not a step. rRNA is a component. Thank you, Prachi. Joining of amino acid. That is what we are looking for, right? So rRNA moves along the mRNA and joins the amino acids by peptide bonds. Sending or talking about random or these words separately makes no sense. If you just say rRNA, if you just say peptide bond, if you just say join, doesn't make sense. It has to be said like rRNA moves along mRNA and joins amino acids by peptide bonds. A complete sentence. This process is called translocation, TTT. But even now, we don't have the protein ready. What is the last step? Step number 5. Thank you. It's the folding of the amino acid chain. So once all the amino acids are joined with each other, that chain folds and it forms a specific structure. That is the protein. This is how protein is formed, and we have to know, we have to understand, we have to remember this process. After that quick revision, let us once again remember what we are going to study now. We are going to understand, or we are going to start to understand the origin and diversity of life on Earth. How life may have started on Earth, and how we may have ended up with so many different types of organisms on Earth. And we will do this in a very structured way. We are studying science, and we are using a scientific method. Science always is systematic. Science is not random. Science is based on facts. Science is not based on feelings. So what we are going to do is we will look at the observations, and then we will try to conclude. So we will see what is there around us, and then we will use the logic to come to a conclusion and make a guess as to what might have happened, how life may have started on Earth, and how we may have ended up with so many different types of plants and animals and organisms on the planet Earth. Name the different types of organisms that you know. Speak, type. Different types of organisms. So one is insects, okay. Another one is coming as reptiles. Chand is saying human beings, okay. Different types of organisms. Another word that has come is birds, okay. Alfia is saying carnivorous animals, okay. Chand is saying amoeba. So amoeba is an organism. The type is unicellular organism. Etesham is saying plant. So learn from Etesham and say we are missing one big group of organisms. So someone is saying bacteria and fungi. Yeah, we are missing something. We have missed. Yes, Karthik, producers. So what is the common name for producers? They are green in color. What are they called? Plants and trees, right? So there is another classification by Khadija: herbivores, carnivores, insects, producers, autotrophic. Yeah. So you know so many different types of plants and animals and different organisms. Correct. Thank you. Are they all same or different? All these organisms that you mentioned, are they all same or different?
Different.
Of course, they are different. Yes. And I am seeing more answers in the chat box. Huh? Karthik is saying parasites. Yes, all are different. All are different. Now, because we see, and not just we, people hundreds of years ago before us, when people started observing and thinking, what is life? How did it start? How did we come to being? Because they saw so many different life forms around them, they thought there must be someone who has created this life on this earth. They thought. Even now, there are many people who believe so. But remember, just believing something doesn't make it right. We may choose to believe whatever we choose to believe. What is right has proof. What is right can be proven. And no one has been able to prove the theory of creation. I'm referring to God here without naming the name. Because people saw so many different types of organisms on the planet Earth, the only explanation that they could come up with was there must be someone somewhere who created all this life. And we are talking about the time when people did not know so many things. Science was still not developed. We did not even know what water was made up of. We did not know what air was made up of. Okay? We are studying this in various parts of science this year. So what they thought made logical sense to them at that point in time. But as I said, till now, we have found absolutely no evidence of there someone somewhere being there creating all this. On the other hand, when we study the world around us in a systemic way, we find some interesting observations. What are those? In the next few slides, I will take you through the different types of observations that we have made. So while you are observing the slides, while you are listening to what I'm saying, while you are participating in the class, you should also have your notebook and pencil ready and taking notes as to what we are observing. Okay. All of you said different types of animals and different types of plants. But are they really different? Or do we see any similarity between them? If we see any similarity, what is the similarity? And if you say that we don't see any similarity between them, tell me why. What are you basing it on? Don't worry about the heading, morphological evidences. Don't worry about that. Karthik is saying physical similarities. Karthik, can you come out of mute and explain a little bit about it? What do you mean by that? Waiting for you to speak, Karthik. Explain your sentence, explain your phrase. Like the structure. Okay. I don't know if Karthik is able to speak or not. Like the structure. So I'm guessing what Karthik is saying, that whether it is a dog, a sheep, or a wolf, or a fox, we see eyes, we see nose, mouth, ears. So although they are different, there are some similarities. What about the plants and trees? Are they also all different, or is there any similarity between them? Khadija is saying the shape of the leaf is similar. Chand is saying not just the shape, the color of the leaf is also similar. Yes. Is it not common that they all have leaves? Just having leaves is commonality. Prachi is saying they bear fruits. Prachi, it should be B-E-A-R, not B-A-R. They bear fruits and flowers. Yes. Karina is saying the fruits also are of the similar shape. Correct. So we started by saying that there are so many different types of plants and so many different types of animals, but we see that they are similar. And with this, we are forced to think that perhaps they are connected. They must be connected. Otherwise, why would they be all similar? And these structures that we talked about now, the color, the shape, the size, the parts of the body, they are visible physical structures. They are called morphological structures. Morphology is related to shape and size. Ears, eyes, mouth, similar. Leaves, fruits, similar. And even within the leaves, the color is similar. If you look at the lines that are there on the leaves, they are called veins of the leaves. They are also similar from one plant to another plant, from tree to tree. They are similar. So although there are so many different types of plants and animals, ultimately they are similar, and they might be similar because they might have had some commonality long time ago. This is one set of observations, and this observation we can say morphological observation, and this is related to how different organisms look, their shape, size, color, all those things. Let's see more. Here on the screen, you see it's like the X-ray of the human hand, X-ray of the cat's foreleg. The patagium of bat का जो wing होता है वो, it's not called a wing because bats are not birds, bats are mammals. And the flipper of a whale is a fish. We look at it as a fish because it lives in the ocean, but again, strictly speaking, whales are also animals. Now, do you think they look similar or not? I don't understand this symbol, one cross. Do they say? They are used for different things. The flipper of the whale is used for swimming. The patagium of the bat is used for flying and hanging. The human hand is used to make so many tools, eat, work, so many different things. All right. And whether this is cat's foreleg or ox foreleg, right? However, even though outwardly they look different, and that these animals use these things in different ways, they look similar. And your observation is correct. Chand is saying they all have fingers. Yes. Don't you see? See, there are joints, there are joints, there are joints, there are joints here also. Yes, their shape is different, but again, there is some similarity. Are we able to see or not? Aman said no. Karina said no. Do you now say yes after I have explained what I have explained? Okay. So here also what we can say is they look different from outside and they are of different use, but look similar from inside. And this how things are from inside, that is called anatomy. Anatomy is about the skeleton, is about our bones. Morphology is how we look from outside. Anatomy is how we look from inside. Something that gives a structure from inside is called the anatomy. So in most animals, it is the bones. So because they look similar, we are forced to believe that maybe they are also connected. Otherwise, think if someone is creating these organisms, then the organisms would be created in completely different ways. Why similarity? This is the second set of observations, which are called anatomical observations. There is more. The next set of observations is about vestigial organs. Vestigial organs are the organs that we have in our body which are of no use to us. For example, at the end of the large intestine, or you can say at the beginning of the large intestine, at the left hand side end of the large intestine, you have something called as the appendix. You have studied digestive system already, and you must have heard on TV or movies or read. You have heard nothing good about appendix. Whenever you hear about appendix, you would hear pain in the appendix, operation, appendix removed. Clearly, it is of no use, but it is useful to some animals. It is useful to animals like cow, buffalo, animals who are called ruminants. Ruminants, they don't digest their food immediately. They take the food in, they have multiple stomachs. A cow has 5 stomachs. They keep the food in the first stomach, then they bring it out, chew it again. आपने देखा होगा गाय बैल कभी जब बैठे रहते हैं तब भी उनका मुंह चलता रहता है, खाना है नहीं आसपास, मुंह चल रहा है, कैसे चला? What they had eaten earlier, they are bringing from the back from the stomach to the mouth and chewing it. This process is unique to this set of food, this set of animals. They are called ruminants. And here appendix is used. Another example of vestigial organ, the muscles in our ear. Ear muscles, जो हमारा outer ear होता है उसको कहते हैं pinna. We have no use. We don't move our ear from side to side, up and down. We don't. We are capable of hearing without moving our ears. But monkeys use these ears, use these muscles. We are not able to flap our earlobe, but there are animals like dogs, like elephants. They are able to move their ear muscles. Do you agree or not? Have you seen animals do that? Yes. Very few human beings will be able to do this. And that takes a lot of practice. Usually we don't do it. Another set of vestigial organs, they are called wisdom tooth. It's a misnomer. These teeth have nothing to do with wisdom. And they grow into our mouth much later. Most of you will not have wisdom tooth yet. And they are so far back in our mouth. When we eat, the food doesn't reach that place. We don't use those teeth to chew the food, but we have those teeth. Why? These teeth are useful to eat raw food, especially meat, which requires a lot of chewing. So animals like the carnivores, the lions and tigers, for them, these teeth are useful. Why do we have them? And finally, the tailbone, which is called the coccyx, which is at the end of our backbone. If you reach to your back and touch, you will find a pointed thing. That is your coccyx. As the name suggests, it was useful. It is useful for animals who have the tails to wag the tails. We don't have a tail. Why do we have a tailbone? And not just these four, there are other organs in our body which we don't use. Like lot of hair on our body. Yes, they are useful in some way. They are useful to control the temperature of our body. But not necessarily. We wear clothes and all. So clearly, we have some organs which are of no use. Now, if our theory of creation was correct, that someone has created these organisms, then that someone will not create such useless organs in our body. Right? Because the creator is smart enough. That is why the creator has been able to create so many different types of organisms. But it seems the creator has ended up creating organs in our body which are of no use. And we are right here, we are looking at vestigial organs in our body. There are vestigial organs in other animals also. ऐसा क्यों हुआ होगा? Perhaps once upon a time it was being useful. Perhaps we have developed from some other animals. We have developed from some other animals in which all these organs were useful, but now they are no longer useful. Now comes Chang's favorite part, fossils. Fossils are remains or the impressions of the remains of the animals. Earth has been in existence for billions of years. A human being is alive, say, around 100 years. So we have seen only a very small part of the life of Earth and very small time frame of life on Earth. To understand what life forms existed before, we have to dig, literally dig, खोदना पड़ता है. When we go deeper and deeper into the ground, we find evidences of animals and birds and plants which were buried thousands and thousands of years ago. And when we study them, when we find the ages, we make a very interesting observation. Now listen to this carefully. Clearly, just use your logic. The fossil that we will find deeper in the earth has to be the older fossil, because more layers of earth would have deposited on it. If we extend this logic, the fossil that we find at a lower depth, those will be newer fossils, because less layer of earth has been deposited on them. And why would this have happened? Because of floods, volcanic eruptions, all kinds of natural disasters. So the observation, the very simplistic observation is, the fossils that we find deeper, that is the older fossils, are simpler. The older fossils are simpler, but the newer fossils that we find at a lower depth, that is higher up, they are complex. ऐसा क्यों हुआ? If creator created everything, then did the creator not create everything at the same time? Is the creator still creating? Has the creator stopped creating? And not just by the depth of the fossil. When we find the age of the fossils using radioactive dating, where we use carbon 14, carbon 12, carbon in our body, in the bodies of the living organisms. The ratio of, there is a particular ratio of carbon 12 to carbon 14. Carbon 14 is radioactive, carbon 12 is not radioactive. So till the time the organism is alive, the organism is breathing, the organism is eating, so the amount, the proportion of carbon 12 and carbon 14, that remains constant. But once the animal dies or the plant dies, when the life processes stop, when the breathing stops, when the respiration stops, when the act of taking food stops, then the carbon 12, which is stable, it remains as it is. But carbon 14, which is radioactive, we studied in class 10, class 9, that radioactive substances, they emit alpha, beta, gamma rays. They keep changing. We say that they keep decaying. A heavier molecule keeps converting into lighter molecules. It keeps changing. So if we know the original proportion of carbon 12, carbon 14, that should be there, that is usually there. And if we see the current proportion of carbon 12 and carbon 14 in the fossil that we find, the difference will tell us कि कितने सालों से carbon 14 is losing, the fossil is losing the carbon 14. And using this back calculation, we can say how old that fossil is. This is called radioisotope dating. I will explain this process to you in detail, not today, in the next class. Let us focus on evolution today. Now make a guess. Why is this happening? Why are the older fossils simpler, and why we see that the newer fossils more complex? ऐसा क्यों होगा? क्या होने से ऐसा होगा? When we see that the newer fossils are complex, the older fossils are simpler, we can say, yes, Prachi, that perhaps the newer organisms developed from the older organisms, that they were not created at the same time. There were improvements, as Satyam said, there were improvements in the organisms, and more complex organisms came into being. Very good. So this is another observation which tells us that perhaps creation is not the reason. There is something else here that is happening. The study of fossils is called paleontology. Paleontology. The study of fossils is called paleontology. The fossils can be animal fossils, the fossils can be plant fossils. The study is paleontology. Another set of observations. When I asked you, what are the different types of organisms that you see? You said animals, plants, carnivores, herbivores. We will study about these things in much more detail, as you studied about plant kingdom last year in class 9. We will study about the animal kingdom this year. We will study about annelids like earthworms. We will study about arthropods. Arthropods are the insects. We will study about the fishes, the reptiles. The reptiles are the snakes. We will study about the mammals. Mammals, they give birth to an organism. They don't lay eggs. There are a variety of organisms, but then there are these kind of organisms. One example is Peripatus. It has some features of annelids and some features of arthropods. Do read about it after the class. Annelids and arthropods. It has segmented body, thin cuticle, and parapodia-like organs, जो उनके पैर दिख रहे हैं. Also, they have a trachea for respiration, windpipe. They have an open circulatory system, like insects. So they have some similarity to annelids, like earthworms, and some similarities to insects. ऐसा क्यों? We have lungfish. Fishes don't have lungs. Fishes breathe through their gills. Gills separate the oxygen from the water. Fishes don't need to come out of the water to breathe. But then here is an organism which is called lungfish. So it has some features of fish and some features of reptiles. Why is this happening? Duckbill platypus, another interesting animal. It lays eggs. It lays eggs like reptiles. But it also has the mammary glands to nurse the baby. Duckbill platypus, like mammals and reptiles. Why is this happening? What is the explanation for this? किसी को मजा आया कि चलो हमने एनालिड्स एंड आर्थ्रोपोड बना दिए तो उनके बीच का कुछ बना दो. हमने फिश और रेप्टाइल बना दिया तो चलो उनके बीच का कुछ बना दो. हमने रेप्टाइल और मैमल बना दिया, अब चलो उनके बीच का कुछ बना दो. ना. This is also telling us that perhaps the insects, the arthropods, they developed from annelids, and Peripatus is an example of the intermediary organism. The lungfish tells us perhaps the reptiles developed from fishes. The duckbill platypus tells us perhaps the mammals developed from reptiles. One type of organism developed from the another type. So when we look at fossils, we observe things related to how things have changed over time. Complexity has changed. And when we look at these animals, which are now called connecting links, they connect two different groups of animals. They have some similarity to different groups of animals. So they also indicate that perhaps it is not the creation, but one group of animals slowly changed into another group of animals. Not all, some. And more types of animals were formed. More and more types of organisms were formed. Finally, not just the fully formed animal. If we look at the embryos of a group of animals which are called chordates. Chordates means those animals who have a backbone. If we look at a fish, a salamander is another sea living organism, or tortoise, a chicken, a pig, a cow, a rabbit, or a human being. You look at the top row. In the beginning, if I show this to you, you will not be able to tell which is the embryo of human being and which is the embryo of a fish. It is only later that the embryo develops into a different structure, different form. Why? Once again, the answer can be that perhaps the way organisms are born, the way the organisms develop, it is not unique to humans. This is a process that is common to other animals also. And why is it common? Because we must have, as Chan said, we must have had a common ancestor sometime. That is where the original process was developed. What do you think now? What do you say? Really? Creation? The people who thought about creation, they did not know all these things. We do. What does the class say? Creation or something else is happening? If creation, thumbs up. If not a creation, thumbs down. Clear answer is no. It is much more likely, based on our observation, on our study of the nature, plants, animals. What is more likely is, and now I am giving the answer that Prachi asked. Forget about how life started. Let us think how the universe started. Must have heard about this theory called Big Bang theory. Once upon a time, 13.2 billion years ago, all the mass was concentrated at one point, which was called singularity, and there was a big blast in it. And the mass started expanding. And that is the moment of creation of the universe. We still don't know how that happened. But all the calculations, all the mathematics, all the science, all the observation tells us that this must have happened. You will study more about it if you study physics later in college. Yes, Chan. Whenever we hear Big Bang theory, the name Stephen Hawking must come to our mind. So when the universe was created, so it took a long time from the Big Bang to creation of the Earth. It took millions of years ago. But once the Earth was created, once it cooled down, it must have had simple elements like hydrogen, oxygen. They might have combined just by chance, because we know atoms have a tendency to lose, gain, share electrons to form bonds. So by chance, they made simple compounds, organic and inorganic. These simple compounds may have combined to form complex compound like proteins and nucleic acid. Now we know what proteins are. Now we know what nucleic acid is. They would then have combined to form something called as a protoplasm, something that had life. We still are unable to create life on the planet Earth artificially. We are not able to. What we believe and the evidence suggests that this is the chain of events that might have occurred. Then different molecules, compounds would have come together to form organelles like mitochondria. Organelles might have come together to form unicellular organism like paramecium, amoeba. And then unicellular organisms must have combined to form multicellular organisms. And as time went by, there was more and more and more changes in the organisms. Different types of organisms were developed. And now we have a situation where even we are there. And we are so smart that we are at least trying to understand how life originated on the planet Earth. And this theory of origin of life and this theory of diversity of life in general is called evolution. Evolution, you can say, is development of life. From stars and planets to the biosphere on Earth. Biosphere is that part of the Earth where the lithosphere, the hydrosphere, and the atmosphere come into contact and life becomes possible. We are alive on the planet Earth. Not just us, other organisms also. This process is a very, very, very slow process. It's a gradual change that occurs in the living organisms over a long duration of time. which produces new forms of life. Formation of new species due to changes in specific characters over several generations of living organisms. And we have started studying how changes in characteristics can be passed from one generation to another generation. That study itself is called heredity. The study is called genetics and the process is called heredity. We just started to understand that it is happening through genes. In general, this is called the theory of gradual development of living organisms. There were other theories also, theory of creation, but there is no evidence for theory of creation. This is the gradual development of living organisms. So if you understand all this, we can also say evolution is progressive, माने एक-एक करके आगे बढ़ना, complexity बढ़ना, development of plants and animals from the ancestors having different structural and functional organization. Understand what is happening in the process of evolution and you can write it in your own words. Evolution is the process by which life originated on Earth and life developed into many forms. It's a slow process, it's a gradual process. Characteristics are passed from one generation to another generation. Okay, that's okay. We can write it like that. And we will understand evolution more in this chapter itself. Here, we are just trying to say what evolution is. So evolution is this phenomenon where life started and it became so diverse. How evolution happens, that's the next topic, not for today. Let us look at the questions from the exercise that we can answer now. The first one is a web diagram. In English, you call it a web diagram. So it says evidences of evolution. And in this diagram, there are 4 blocks. Do you remember how many different types of evidences we looked at? Was it 4 or was it more than that? Who remembers all the things? So one is morphological. First one is morphological. The second one that it says here is similarities in bones. That is anatomical. And Prachi and Chand have already identified. Bhavesh is saying 5. Bhavesh, you are almost correct. We looked at 6 different types of evidences. So tum chaho. So yes, very good. Paleontological, vestigial, then connecting links and embryological. 6 different. So you can make a box on the left hand side, you can make a box on the right hand side, and you can have a complete web diagram with 6 different boxes. The correct question should have had 6 boxes, not 4. We just have to write what type of evidences are there. And maybe when you study science, when you study about evolution, maybe you will be able to discover a different kind of evidence. It is very clear that this is not a definite science yet. There are still some unanswered questions. There's a lot of scope for improvement. And science in general has scope for improvement. Science is not final. Science is always open to change. Okay, 1 is complete. You have given the answers. So easy. Look at number 2. It says, read the following statements and justify the same in your own words with the help of suitable examples. Justify means usko batao ki ye sahi hai. It is already correct. C. Study of fossils is an important aspect of study of evolution. How will you justify? Try to justify now. Tell me. If you remember what I have said, if you understood what I have explained with respect to fossils, you will be able to answer. We will have to say that the older fossils that we find are simpler. The newer fossils that we find are complex. So it tells us that the more complex organisms developed or evolved from the simpler organisms. Yes, we get to know the connections. The evidence of the connecting links also come through fossils. It's not necessary that the connecting link has to be alive. Some connecting links are extinct, but we get the evidence through fossils. Yes, they represent the ancestors of plants and animals also. Yes, the main point is it tells us how simpler organisms have developed or evolved into more complex organisms. Remember to answer like this: simple, complex, and connection. Now, question number 2D is wrong. I have no idea why it is typed like this. You will have to change the question to what I have changed on the slide. How I have changed on the slide. There is embryological evidence among chordates. Remember the last slide that you saw? The sixth evidence. Embryos, the young embryos. Embryos are the initial stage of life of a chordate. Chordate means the organisms that have a backbone. At the early stage of development, the embryos all look same. Only later they differentiate, they become different. This also tells us that they must be having a common ancestor. Yes, correct. So the words that Chand and Satyam used today, ancestor, improved. If we are able to use these words, we will get the answers. Common ancestors, improvement, development, evolution, all the answers will be right. Give 5 confirmation that this is okay. Very good. There is a lot of similarity in the initial stages. Again, that is an observation. Then you have to conclude. हमारा क्या था आज का objective? What do we see and what can we say from that? The conclusion has to be there. If you just say, cite the observation, it's not complete. Karthik, be careful when you write the answer. Good. Thank you for the confirmation. You tell me the answers quickly. The remaining to fill in the blanks of question number 3. Evolution means what? And vestigial organ, give the example, present in human body is proof of evolution. Waiting for your answers to these questions, 3D and 3E. Correct answers. Evolution means gradual development, and vestigial organ, appendix present in human body is proof of evolution. If in place of appendix, if you have to write ear muscle, that it will also be correct. But here appendix is given, so you will use that. Good. Done. All of you have given the correct answer in the chat. So question number 3 is completely solved. There are more questions that you can answer. Very interesting question. Write short notes based upon the information known to you. इसका मतलब है इसका आंसर गलत हो ही नहीं सकता. Question number 4 has 5 parts. After today's session, you may try to write C, embryology, D, evolution, and E, connecting link. But I would ask you not to write C and D, just answer 4E, connecting link. So you can talk about peripatus, you can talk about lungfish, you can talk about duckbill platypus, and you can say how they link 2 different groups of animals. Duckbill platypus, reptiles and mammals. Lungfish, fish and reptiles. Peripatus, annelids and arthropods. And you will say, it tells us that one type of animals developed or improved or evolved from other type of animals. Right? They may have a common ancestor. This is another proof of evolution. 4E. I did not write E on the screen. Another question that we can answer is question number 6. Define vestigial organs. You know, the organs that are no longer of any use. They are vestigial organs. Examples you will give: appendix, coccyx, ear muscle, wisdom tooth, wisdom teeth, and you will also say, in what animals they are useful. You have the information. I've given it to you. Again, no need to write paragraphs. Write in points. 1 point for each of the organs. Enough. There are even more questions that you can answer. Explain the theory of evolution and mention the proof supporting it. Such a long question this is. We will have to say what evolution means: slow process, development of one type of organism from another type of organism, long period of time. Then you will say, list down all the 6 types of evidences: morphological, anatomical, vestigial organs, paleontological evidence, connecting links, and embryological evidence. (7D), a little smaller question. Explain with suitable examples importance of anatomical evidences in evolution. वही बताओगे तुम. That when we look at things from outside, if you look at a hand or a wing or a flipper from outside, they look different. But when we look inside, we see that they are similar. They may be connected. It tells us that all these animals may have the same ancestor, common ancestor. Once again, 7E is same as the question that we already answered before. Study of fossils is important aspect of study of evolution. It's the same question. Define fossil. Explain importance of fossils as proof of evolution. Yep. Will you be able to answer? Good. Good to know that some of you are saying that you will be able to.
Yes, sir.
Very good.